Welcome back to MyFinJourney. Today's guest is Michael J. Frank, an independent director, advisory board member, exited founder, capital markets operator with deep experience in governance, risk, financial controls, and regulated markets. Michael founded Gateway Partners, a market maker and specialized trading firm that scaled to nearly 1 billion balance sheet technological transformation through proprietary options valuation and portfolio risk software, and ultimately sold the company to a NASDAQ-listed firm. Today, he advises companies across fintech, financial infrastructure, AI, emerging technologies, and helps boards and leadership teams think through capital allocation, risk oversight, regulatory complexity, governance modernization, and exit readiness. If any of that sounds complex, then it's worth staying on this episode to learn a little bit more, to grow 1%, to learn what you don't know, and then try to understand how it can help you grow so that ultimately you can create value for the market, monetize off of that value, and accomplish whatever your goals are. And that's the point of the MyFinJourney podcast, to help you on your financial journey. Mike, welcome to the episode.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. So, Mike, it's clear that you've accomplished a lot. I would argue more than people ever accomplish in their life, to put it simply, and help us understand, how you got to where you are today, and maybe the one personal and professional achievement that you're really proud of, but maybe don't talk about much.
Sure. Well, I've been on Earth a long time, a lot older than you could imagine. And being on Earth and raising a family and being married forever and being in businesses and market making offers you just endless amount of opportunity to learn. Always learning, new AI journey, always learning, and happy to be on here. I guess if I had to think of like one thing. There's not one thing. Like my career's comprised of multiple different segments. The early on career right out of college was a market maker and a specialist on the trading floor, and you can see some trading pictures behind me. We were market makers and specialists on the floor. Specialists are people who make the primary market, and then the crowd stands on the other side. A market maker makes the secondary markets. So that was, 20, 25 years on the trading floors, building trading operations proprietarily, trading my own capital, built my own software, ordered financials, focus reports, very highly regulated, but at the same time, also sort of almost, I don't know, the trading floor is sort of like a fraternity almost, what's going on down there. It's high risk. There's a lot of market makers that are previously backgammon or Go or bridge players or poker players. It's sort of similar, the whole idea of making markets on the floor. It doesn't really exist anymore. There really are no crowds anymore. Everything is sort of electronic. There are trading floors where some of the stuff comes down to be crossed, but it's relatively gone in the United States. It's in other places. I'm sure it's going on, and Bitcoin options and stuff make me salivate. But I guess more recently, like, I'm on a bunch of boards. One of them I'll highlight VPG. Yenin spent 15 years in federal penitentiary. He's a New Jersey resident. I was looking for a nonprofit to be on. I met him a couple of years ago, and then again at another place, and he was asking for help. He's out of Trenton, New Jersey. He more recently just got an office, and he's teaching people to code and doing all sorts of good stuff. And he's about to be certified I think it's called a private education center in New Jersey. So I spent the day with him last Monday for the whole day. And the people from Trenton, you would think they just come down. There's three of them approving this. You'd think they just come down. He's in Trenton, but no, they're all online. I never ceases to amaze me, government employees and what goes on. And I think that's he's giving back and he's doing stuff and he's really doing well. So I'm excited to work with him. So that's something business wise. Family wise, I'm married for 37 years. My wife works at the JCC in a memory care unit. She provides programming for people with Alzheimer's. Having after raised all our children and being empty nesters, I'm ecstatic that she has something to do of value that is something that's worthwhile for her, like helping these people. um, Alzheimer's is the scariest thing in the world to me, and the ability, or not the ability, the fact that you might even not even remember who you are, what's going on, is is like, and I think with this day and age of AI and these large data sets that they are going to figure it out and be able to stop it and maybe reverse it or at least stop it in its tracks. We'll see. But no, you're in my home office. I am, as I said, exited founder, three grown children. For Mother's Day, the daughter came over from Hoboken and cooked the whole Mother's Day dinner. It was kind of nice, and I grilled them. And, just keep grinding away with Gilder and everything else. So I'm happy to continue talking in whatever direction that you think is most educational for the people that are on this pod.
That that's so profound, Michael, because you mentioned and you started with being a market maker. And I would think that most people don't really know what a market maker is. And then you mentioned how market makers don't really exist in the US anymore. And maybe again, most people can't really resonate until maybe you say, hey, people are afraid of AI and AI replacing their jobs, etc. But you continue to talk about how you're a founder and now you're an exited founder, which is a nice way of saying like unemployed, right? Very professional, exited, a lot of experience, and now you're an advisor and a mentor to others, which is not unemployed. It's, hey, I'm leveraging my experience to help others grow. So, Michael, I really want to understand, from your perspective, looking back at your journey, your growth, what you've accomplished, I really want to understand how you look at the economy today, how you look at opportunities today. Because if somebody is reading a newspaper, if somebody is looking at something on YouTube, etc., it's so much easier to sell people with fear rather than say, hey, here's the opportunity and here's how you can create value for the market. And if you're creating value, here's how you monetize off of that value without someone being a winner and someone being a loser. In theory, the market is big enough and people are smart enough for everyone to win, unless you disagree.
I am a huge fan of listening to other pods. I listen to one other pod, All In. It's a poker term. The guy's always talking AI and startups or fairly influential people. And they also have a lot of interviews with everyone from Elon Musk on. All that stuff is mini educations. But like I think AI is here. It's here to stay. It's embedded into everything. It's been embedded into everything, but it's even more. Should people be worried about it? I think I'm worried about lower level people not being able to work up and get the experience because a lot of these jobs are going to be done by agents. So yeah, that's a problem there. The companies, you see everyone, Facebook and everybody laying off people, making much more companies much more efficient in doing things. I use it every day. I use ChatGPT for free. We get Gemini part of this. It's built into my calendar. It's built into lots of things. I don't send anything out without sort of running it by AI and just making sure I didn't miss something or whatever. If I'm a young person now, I am definitely not going to school to colleges to code. Like that whole idea of you're going to go there and get a job for 200K a year is potentially gone. And those schools are still advertising it's a return on equity, come spend 200 grand, do this. I am really feel for the people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans for jobs that don't exist or that were maybe never even existing and what to do about them. And I think the government has to come in and try and bail them out and stop this nonsense of funding everybody's college dream, even though they're going to come out and not get a job. But like, you know, not picking anything, but how many gender studies PhDs do we need? Like, I'm sure there's plenty and there's plenty of room for them, but like, are you going to get a job? Are you going to take $250,000 in debt to come out and do that? And I think the answer, if you look at it mathematically, is big mistake. And there are public companies that will lend you money to be a nurse, right? They know, like they're going to lend 100 grand, you're going to become a nurse, you're going to pay it back. Like they could do a whole credit thing. They understand everything. So that kind of stuff existing. I'm telling people now that are younger to learn to build AI agents, learn to manage them. This is a skill set that is needed forever. AI is not taking your job. The guy using AI is taking your job. He's more efficient and better. And when I say guy, I mean guy, girl, the person. I believe that if I'm directing people right now and you want to earn a living and have the American dream and get a house before 40, I think your best place to go is to become an electrician, a plumber, a welder. These things, they make their own prices. Like the guy just came to repair my treadmill. He spent 15 minutes. He had $237 to tell me I need a part and left. Like I was felt raped. Like not really, but like so those are the
But sort of, yes.
those are
Not re
sort
not,
of,
not really, but sort of,
yeah,
yes.
like I don't know, it just seemed crazy to me. Like 15, see ya, thanks, you need this part, we'll be back to you. Your treadmill's so old that we have to search for the part. Maybe we could find it or not. So I am a co-founder of Gilder. I was mentoring startups out of New Chip. It was an accelerator of Austin, Texas, and I had met Brian and Tiger, my millennial co-founders, to be. And that thing just blew up, and the CEO did all sorts of hokey stuff. But overnight, there's 150 employees that have no job, and we formed Gilder. And Gilder is a community for founders. We provide access to mentors, to tools, to events to help build a successful company. We believe we can empower anybody at any stage of their career. We run a weekly event, workshops, innovation roundtables, all sorts of learning. 80% online, 20% in the biggest cities. In fact, we have Eric Ries, the author of Lean Startup, a book that if anyone's building a company, if you haven't read that, go buy it. It's 15 years old and it's sort of to me the Bible of startups. He's coming to speak about his next book, Incorruptible, where good companies go bad. And I think we know all the top names of them. They're all the $1 trillion companies. We enjoy doing this at $59 a month. I'm not going to become a unicorn, but we have lots of different companies building lots of things. We help them out. We have office hours, all sorts of stuff going on. And I love doing that. Well, at the same time, I'm on Yenin's VPG advisory board. I'm on two other paid boards or companies that are for profit. And I like doing this. Like I'm happy to, I'm way older than most people think. It's the hair that fools them. And I like working. So like, what else am I going to do? Like, I don't understand people just watch these crazy shows on TV and listen to these crazy women spout all this kind of stuff. I am very aware of what's going on in the world, although I'm trying to just stay in my own zone here in New York, go in and out of the city, spend time around family. I listen to what lots of people have to say. I get all my news from X, formerly Twitter. I follow 5,000 people, left, right, center, every name you could think of, and I could read the stuff and I make my own opinion. I don't listen to and haven't listened to any news in 20 years, not even the weather or anything. It's just not I in New York, I don't need to see all the places burning down and people like this. It's just negative stuff. You have to surround yourself with positive things and people that are doing. So we have a community of builders. They're all building. Will they all be successful? No, not for sure. But they're all building. They're using AI. They're using lots of experience like me and other people in the community. It's all about meaningful connections and growing your business organically. So, being older and trying to find value in life, these are the things I do. Like if I wasn't doing this, I think I would work at Trader Joe's or Home Depot.
Mike, you threw a lot at us, and I want to pause a little bit so that people can let it sink in. And I want to say, Mike, you started by saying, hey, education can potentially be useless, even though the government is giving you free, not necessarily free money, but they're giving you the ability to apply for money at amounts that you don't recognize how much you're really applying for with no real credit check. And they wouldn't give you that type, you didn't say this, but they wouldn't give you that type of funding to buy a business unless you knew the process to actually apply for an SBA loan and to find the right types of businesses to buy. So you're a college kid, you know nothing. You don't know you know nothing. Again, this is not what you said, but it's what I'm saying.
College is debatable whether you should be going now.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like, hey, it's debatable, but I don't think enough people are talking about like why it's debatable. Instead, you should be maybe building these AI agents, but it doesn't really feel like there's a program or a pathway yet. There's no product yet, I don't think, to build AI agents. Eventually, AI agents will probably build that product, most likely, and then, commercialize it. And then you transition to the community that you've built to help founders actually build their companies and scale and be successful. So I feel like when I listen to it, Mike, and the reason why I wanted to pause to just let it, it ruminate for people is to say that fundamentally you should always be learning and growing. But that doesn't mean school is the right place to learn and grow. Would you agree, Michael, or would you disagree? Help us unpack that if you don't mind.
I definitely agree. Like these schools that have stopped teaching higher level math and physics because they want to equalize everything for everybody and it's unfair. That's just a failure every which way but loose. AI is going to change that. There's already a lot of programs in these schools where people can learn at different levels. If you're in third grade or fourth grade and they're still teaching you something, but you're well beyond that, it's kind of boring. If you're well behind, it's kind of hard. And there's other people sort of in the middle. So school is made for elementary school, excuse me, public school is made for um, the middle in between, the 80%, not the 20% that has special needs and need help, and not the 20% or 10% that are so smart that this is freaking boring to them. Sal Khan Academy, and now they're working on some stuff in house, but they will be able to let everybody sort of learn at their own pace. And the teacher will just walk by, and the software will say, "Hey, Sally's stuck on this," and then they can help them. And Johnny's stuck on that. And I think that's the way for public schools because we are failing. We just had someone, and I wrote an article on my LinkedIn a couple months ago. Someone from Hartford, Connecticut, graduated top of the class, can't read or write, was using phones and AI to help them. Like this is, if you walk by and it's sad, the common person on the street, and you ask them to name you 5 countries or any states, or like these are things people are
Should
not
know.
learning. They're not learning how to write a check, and I guess maybe it doesn't matter, but they are learning to stand up and shout equal rights or something like that for countries they don't even understand. And creating this within people and not giving them skill sets and things to go out and try and learn and do. And if that's what they want, the American dream to, find a spouse or a significant other and get married and have children or raise dogs or whatever you want to do. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world, but education in the United States, we're falling by the wayside, and everywhere else is, doing well. And everything is sort of in the United States is sort of falling behind. Our electricity generation, lots of different things. The government is not doing a great job other than making sure that they are reelected, whether Democrats or Republicans. The whole thing is kind of broken to me, and I think they should have term limits and get these people out of there and bring people like you or I in there for 3 or 4 years and out, and that's that. But that's not going to happen so fast. But I think AI, back to leveling the playing field. With Starlink and Elon Musk, you can now get high-speed internet anywhere in the world, right? You just need to be able to point at a satellite, so you need to point up. With that, there is endless education online from MIT and everybody else that you can go and get these, not the degree, but learn everything you want, whether it's Khan Academy or this. So I believe it is lowering the barrier for everyone to be educated if that's what they want and to learn a skill set and do things. We ourselves are 3 partners. Our one employee is out of Colombia. We're happy to have her. It's dirt cheap in comparison to what's going on here in the United States. And the United States, the Ivy League schools, they're not producing, many of them are not producing people that want to jump into the work environment and do work. And they're producing people that are concerned about things. I think you get in the real world, you got to work. Like you got to show up every day. If you can't show up every day, and your grandmother dies every weekend, like because you're out on Friday or Monday, like, and there's a lot of people on the trading floor. We'd hire people out of UN, athletes, typically men, because we wanted them big in the trading crowd and stand up. And after they passed the math test and different stuff, they'd come to me and I'd say, "Hey, can you be here Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning, ready to work?" What time? 8 a.m. Not needing to go to the bathroom, not needing for a smoke, not eating to breakfast, not needing to go do your hair, brush your teeth, or whatever it is. 8 o'clock, like working. And it is surprising to me how many star athletes and how many people with higher degrees or high GPAs can't get out of bed. They've been coddled.
Can we pause here if you don't mind, Mike?
Sure.
Because this doesn't make sense to me, and I really want to dive deeper. Before I do, I want to say if you're finding this episode useful, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share this with a friend. But really, the value is going to come right after you do that, after you listen to Mike's answer. Mike, I assume we're talking about the 1970s. Like, help me zero in what year roughly, when you're giving this example of hiring star athletes from UPenn. These are not people who are like coasting, like they're
1995 to 2002.
beautiful. Thank you.
90s to 2002.
Awesome. Awesome. I was born in 93.
Okay.
So these are guys who are very good at what they do, who have been used to working hard and hustling and like pushing through the pain barriers, in my humble opinion. And correct me, Mike, if I'm wrong. And you're saying these guys who are respectfully not good enough to go pro, but much better than like I will ever be. So they're very good at what they do athletically.
Yeah,
They're very good at what they do.
Or got a partial scholarship kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very good, intellectually to pass the tests, etc., to get to the trading floor. It wasn't just that they had good physique; they were quote unquote the total package. But you're saying even those people, the percentage of them that are willing to work, you're not even saying 6. You're saying get to the office at 8. That doesn't seem unreasonable. So help me unpack the mindset then in the 90s, and now I assume it's even worse.
A lot of people with college experience is not just education, right? It is learning to grow up, learning to feed yourself, learning to do your laundry, learning to get to class, learning to advocate for yourself when you need help with the proctor and things like that. Lots of people just can't do that. Their parents have been there their whole life. They're incapable of doing that. They're incapable of not drinking themselves into oblivion every weekend and killing themselves. And there's lots of people like there's lots of things going on in life. And the question is, are you going to rise to the top and do things? I was not a great student in college. I started at Northeastern pharmacy major, and I was out of there after 1 year. I went to Fairleigh Dickinson in business. I was done. Like I just wasn't ready to work. I was young and mature, more interested in smoking weed and chasing skirt than education. And different people function at different levels. But I will say that for the people that I liked that said I'm having trouble getting up, I just say, listen, take your alarm clock, get rid of it next to your bed and put it on the other side of the room. I said, so when it goes off and it's cold in the morning, you have to get out from underneath the sheets and your skivvies and you walk over there, you sort them out. You got to turn it off, get in the shower and go. I said, once you program yourself, like you sort of get that way or whatever. For the other people that were, I'll call them entitled or obnoxious, like I could just tell right away, like you are going to take 10 smoke breaks, 20 bathroom breaks. Like there's just people that are always trying to just figure out faster ways, and there's just nothing fast about anything. You have to do it, get it done, do the work. And I'm still doing the work. I work 6 or 7 days a week. I like doing the work. Like I found something I like to do. So hopefully people find things they like to do. But
I want to dive a bit deeper, Mike, because you've outlined two different people, or I'm going to call them two different people, both with the same challenge or similar challenge. The guy who just needs to be told how to wake up early, and the guy who's entitled and probably will never wake up early. It felt like there was a solution for the guy who needs to learn how to wake up early, and it was, put the alarm clock far away so that you have to get up. And once you're up, go shower. Don't do anything else. Probably a cold shower, not a hot shower. And just at that point, you will be awake. For that person that's entitled, right? Because I assume, given your experience, I assume you've run into this. I assume you've tried to help them, etc. Right? What is the most efficient way, in your opinion, to help them? Is it to say, "Hey, you're entitled," and that will really set you up for failure in life, or is it something else, like from your, or are they a lost cause? Help us unpack that.
I don't think anyone's a lost cause. If you are looking to learn and do better all the time, and that's what you should be doing, looking forward, not looking back, moving forward all the time in life, in everything in life, and certainly learning from examples in the past. But some people come from entitled families, right? They're just going to have everything open for them all the time. And it's unfair to compare yourself to them because no matter how much they mess up or do, there's going to be a net there that takes care of them, that's going to get them the new car, that's going to pay their bills. So it sort of doesn't matter. For the people that are grinding and doing stuff and trying to do better, I had a guy who came to us and wanted to join our trading program. He was making like double six, like 200K a year. And I'm like, this job pays 30,000 plus 50% of what you make. Is this what you want to do? And the guy's name is Mike, and he's on TV. I won't say his last name. And he took the job, and he became a trader. And because of that, he pivoted into our business from something else. And now he's on TV. He's doing stuff like so. Here, he took a huge step back to build a career in a different place. Like deep respect for that, right? Like so, you know, everyone's got lots of issues and thinks they're entitled and things like that. But we're no different than everybody else. Everybody's, what's the expression? Puts their pants on the same way or the skirt on the same way. So for those people entitled, like when my daughter's now 30, went to college, and one went to Penn State, one went to Quinnipiac. They're fraternal twins. And the Penn State was a big popular school here in the town I live in. And a lot of people went there, and I knew the kids that went there because I coached all these kids in rec sports and stuff. And some of them came home after 3 months. Had they come home? They came home because they couldn't figure out how to run their life properly without their parents there to pick up everything. And this is an upper middle class community, so maybe it's their parents' fault, but they couldn't figure out how to feed themselves or get to class or show up in class or do tests. And that's sort of a parental problem. When my daughter was 6, she said, we're in a store. She said to me, I want that candy bar. So I hand her $1. Let's go buy it. She says, no, no, I'm not buying it. Like she didn't want to like interact right with the cashier. And I took the dollar, stuck it back in my hand pocket, and we walked out. And the next time we're in there, she said, I want that candy bar. This went on 3 or 4 times. And eventually she took the dollar and bought the candy bar. So she's advocating for herself. She realized she can interact with people and stuff. So, it depends how you raise your employees or teach people or whatever. At Gilder, we offer all the assets for people to build and do things. And it's a function of, are they going to take advantage of it and be part of that? Some people are just heads down and never going to open up and never going to want to try and do better. And they think they're the best or whatever that is. And we know that there's always someone smarter, faster, better looking, richer. They're all over the place, right? So just keep grinding and doing the thing you got to do.
Mike, I think this was a very interesting story, especially in 2026, where maybe parenting styles are different than they were in other generations. And even in other generations, parenting styles were different, right? These days, it feels like you have to talk a lot about emotion. You have to validate emotion. You have to say, it's okay, daughter. Like, I have 2 daughters and they're both young. One of them is 6, right? And it's like, oh, it's okay, honey, to be sad. Like, I'm sad with you. It's like you have to kind of justify, rationalize that it's okay. And you have to kind of, I guess, support them in a different way. And
But is it
yeah,
okay to say that? When the kid runs and falls down and scrapes their knee and looks to you, people act like they got hurt. They don't cry. If you go, "Oh, you okay?" They start crying. So yes, it's okay to have emotions and stuff like that, but in context, right? I'm not telling you how to parent anything, and it's
no,
different.
that's what I want you to tell me your perspective, right? Because I think it is different. And I think to your point, it's about context. And to your point, it's about saying, hey, just because you're fed a narrative, whatever that narrative is, doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask questions. You nicely mentioned about Twitter X before and how you followed different profiles and different, maybe political leanings, etc., to say, hey, we can position ourselves. We're in the era of like information overload. We can position ourselves to get a lot of different information. And then we're smart enough to kind of distill that information and then decide like how to live life and how to grow and how to create the value that we want to see. In this case, raising amazing children, but also in the case of, the startup community that you've built, it's to help founders really scale while recognizing not every startup will be successful.
I'll tell you a cute story.
Please.
We're living on the street. We know everybody on the street. Every Halloween, we're doing pizzas after Halloween. The kids are young. We go with 3 or 4 families down the Pennsylvania to go whitewater rafting. We pull over to the side, and one of the kids, young man, a little bit older, is skipping rocks on the water. But he's skipping the rocks by my children, like within 2 feet of them, right? So I walk over to him. I go, "Hey, Kyle, maybe you could go over there and point that way because someone's going to get hit with a rock, and I don't want it to be my children in the head or the father sees what's going on and comes over to me and almost gets into a fight with me because I shouldn't be telling his kid what to do, anything. So I'm like, I just want him away from my kids. He's skipping rocks. He's like, you don't tell him, you come to me, whatever. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Lo and behold, Kyle hits his sister with a rock in the head. So not much more after that. So I always thought like he's not raising his kids properly. What do I know? And I drive by the house sometimes on a Saturday night, and I knew the bedroom, like the dad's bedroom, the mom's bedroom, but the kid I'd see jumping up on the bed like at 12, 1, 2. I come back from New York, whatever. And I thought to myself, these kids will never be anything because they don't have any rules for them. One's a lawyer, one's a doctor now. So each to his own of how to raise people or what they want out of them. In this case, I just didn't want my kids to get hit with a rock in the head, and it happened. But like, who am I to know? It's different for everybody.
So listening to the story, what do you feel like the takeaway is for a founder who graduated from an Ivy League school, had hypothetically helicopter parents, parents that, love their kid a lot. Every parent loves their kid a lot, but maybe was like too hands-on hypothetically. Now this founder has decided, he's in his early 20s. He's decided he's gonna start a company and have the next unicorn because that's what all founders are aiming for. And it's easier said than done. Maybe he gets, funding because he has the right network from the right schools, etc. But he fundamentally doesn't actually know how to grind, right? And he hasn't found your community, right? But he's in the elevator with you, or he's in, New Jersey at your favorite coffee shop, etc. And you happen to sit down with him. What type of advice would you give that person?
If you're not working 80 hours a week, you're never going to succeed. You have to work every second all the time. If you're a founder, there's endless shit going on all the time, and code push and freezes and this and that and customers grind, but at the same time, mental health, out there walking the dog, part of a community, trying to be, educate yourself. But you think you're going to do this 9 to 5 and party every night and every weekend, go out clubbing till 3 in the morning. Like, I don't see it happening for you. Like this is hard. Like, AI, the ability to build now is near zero. It's not zero, but you still, Claude Code or this or whatever you want to use, and there's so many of them. So the real barrier now, or the real moat, is distribution. Can you get distribution? Can you get customers? Can you build enough customers quick enough that if someone sees what you're building and they try and build the same thing because they have more money than you and more people than you, they're not going to take your business away. And that happens a lot. That's why you see so many people in stealth, right? Like, I used to laugh at that, but no, like, if you have something and it's a great idea and nobody's thought of it, and you came out and said, "Oh, we just raised 2 million on our pre-seed round and we got customers," people just like, "Fuck, I can build that. Let's go." And they're going to build it, and they're going to have 30, excuse my French, if they're going to have $30 million behind them, and they're going to take your customers away, even though they're not as good, and they're going to win. So to me, it's just all about grinding and working hard, and allowing your team to make mistakes and things. I see this. Not sure what happened, but I'm back.
No problem.
We could
We'll
splice it.
we'll fix the editing. Don't worry. So
Okay.
continuing off of
These SaaS
continue.
companies like
Uh-huh.
Not Crunchbase, HubSpot and all this kind of stuff. I think Microsoft, all these people, they have a world of hurt coming there, like, as they quickly try and pivot, because people like, I'm not paying these SaaS fees anymore. I'm just going to build something myself or an agent myself. So they're not as quick to do this. So I'm not sure where it's going, but I think that there'll be way more agents and way more businesses than you could think of. And it's not, whether Microsoft or Facebook buys them all, I have no idea, but that's what they've done in the past. They buy them and they fold them in and things like that. I'm very bullish on AI and what it's going to do for business, for longevity, for health, for everything. It's almost like a Star Trek moment. In the Star Trek in the future, we have unlimited energy and we have unlimited food with the replicator, and people are trying to figure out sort of what to do better. I know we're not there, but we're getting close there with, with unlimited high speed internet and education and things like that. So people have a chance to dig themselves out of these places. I consider myself winning the lottery by being in the United States, a citizen, and growing up with what I consider a middle class family, but would be considered way better than that in every other country in the world. That's why they're all trying to come here. That's why when our borders were open or not open, whatever you want to call it, people piled in here because there's opportunity here, right? There's a lot of opportunity, and it will continue to be opportunity. So I'm super bullish on where the world is going. Hopefully, I'm a little scared about all the deep fakes and all the hacking and things like that. But no, there's a lot going on there, especially in business. So I'm excited.
I love that, Mike. And I want to maybe slow down, maybe circle back to something you said earlier in the answer, because it felt like there's two sides to the coin. You mentioned the idea of working 80 hours a week, which for some people they're not even waking up to get to the office at 8 a.m. like we talked about, right? So for some people that's definitely a huge challenge. Then you mentioned the idea of like going for a walk or mental health. And I want to put this in the context of work-life balance because I feel like you probably either don't believe in it or your definition is not 50-50. So I want to start there and kind of build the conversation to really understand, what life looks like from your perspective for somebody to be successful, however you define success.
Not how I define success. It's what they define success is and what they want out of life. And for some people, a cabin in the woods on 30 acres with no human beings around and their 5 dogs making their own vegetables and potatoes and stuff is their what they want. For other people who want to build businesses and have a house and maybe go on vacation and be able to eat some nice meals and maybe help your kids buy a house and do things. There's different things. So it's different for everybody. And I imagine don't imagine, I know it's different. I was in Italy like 10 years ago, and I don't know where we took a ride from a guy who barely spoke any English. His friends, my friends, and we were sat at a local bar, and they were enamored with me, thinking that New York is the streets of gold. But they didn't care about making more than $30,000 a year. All they cared about was they take a month off in the summer and they go backpacking around South America and sleeping on couches and things like that. And that's made them happy. I envied that in one aspect, but like I got other things going on. I got daughters getting married. I got things. I want to have a car, have access. I want to go on a vacation once in a while. So to me, if you're in, you're all in. Like that's the way I look at this. And if you're trying to do something entrepreneurial, you better be all in. If you're working for someone else and it's 9 to 5, and a Friday theoretically clock out and that's that, and you're not looking at your phone, you don't care about what code they pushed or anything else, or there's something else, that's good for you too. It's different for everybody of what they're looking for. People are looking for husbands and wives, people looking for to get rich, people looking, for lots of different things in this world. And some people just looking for how they can just sort of get by and they don't care about those things. And that's fine. Like it's different for everybody.
That makes sense, Mike. And it kind of feels like at the end of the day, it's more of a you do you mentality. This is my mentality, but I'm open to the idea of an individual living life the way they want to. And it sounds like from your perspective, to be successful in your startup, to be maybe financially successful, it requires that 80 hours of work a week, or it requires intense dedication. It requires maybe learning what you don't know. Maybe if you're earlier on in life and you've had a lot of, let's call them safety nets. It's about using maybe those safety nets as trampolines to say, hey, we need to really bounce back. We need to grow faster. We might have setbacks, but it's important to be able to pivot. Maybe pivoting means going from 200K to 30K plus performance bonus. And I'm going to perform, and that performance bonus is going to make up for that 170K loss that I just agreed to. Or it's not. I'm going to lose 170K, but I'm going to build that distribution channel. And that distribution channel in the future will enable me to make more than 170K times the years that I lost. So I will grow exponentially. So I don't know, Mike. When we have this conversation, it does feel to me like we're in America, the best place in the world. I mean, obviously, we're on Riverside, Zoom, we're on cameras, but we're in America, the best place to live in the world. There's an infinite number of possibilities of how to grow financially. And it's just down to the listener to pick their path, stay the course, double down, find the right mentors potentially, like your platform, and then see where life takes them. But I'm curious to hear if that's an accurate summation.
I agree. There's a guy dad owns the liquor store here in New Jersey called Wine Library. He's very big on every social media. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk, known as Gary V. And Gary V helped his dad run a liquor store that's no more than 5 miles from here, Wine Library, and went from 2 million to 50 million in sales by doing YouTube videos. And Gary talks about all the time about hustling. So on weekends, sometimes he hops in the car with his people and a bunch of camera people, and he goes to um, events where they're selling things, whether they're house auctions or just regular, garage sales. And he goes through all this stuff and buys things for $10 and $20 that are worth $150, and he makes $500 on the weekend. If you're sitting home and you can't figure out how to make any money, and you are not going to these garage sales with $100 in your pocket or $30 in your pocket, and understanding specifically what Nintendo cartridges to look at or what ceramics to look at or glass, or become an expert in jeans and understand what jeans are worth fortunes and what aren't. And this is not hard stuff to even do. And you can have AI and like a little, you can look up stuff on eBay right then and there, and people are selling this stuff for $5 that's worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. It's there. Go hustle. The snow drops. Go door to door and try and shovel snows for $30 a driveway to the old man and old ladies. Like there's lots of opportunity in this world, and there's lots of people who are out here accepting the challenge and trying to go do stuff and hustling and stuff like that. So, the world is your oyster if you want it to be. It's here. We have created a group of people that think that they should be entitled to some lifestyle based on the fact for whatever reason I don't understand, and it just doesn't work that way. Like it's not going to work that way. You can't be supported forever. I am a huge fan though of people who stay home with their parents in their 20s, grinding, putting together money. I like that. Like that makes sense to me. Why rush out to have an apartment yourself and spend 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 a month just to be out there when you can still have the family there? You can still come and go as you please, and you can grind in the meantime and stuff like that. So there's lots of opportunity for everybody in this world with AI. Lots of ways to do things, whether it's just hands-on kind of things or not. I listen to TikTok. We have a TikTok channel, Instagram and YouTube channel. You go to Gilder.com on YouTube, look up Gilder for Founders, and there's so much content there on TikTok and Instagram, and see interviews of people that are all hustling, doing things, whether it's successful or not, time will tell. And I think if you're building now, you got to be very careful because it's just everyone's building everything. So the question is, you know, what are you going to do? So don't quit your day job. Keep your day job with your paycheck and build on nights and weekends. I work Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 6, Saturday 11 to 5, and Sunday I'll do 2 or 3 hours of emails and LinkedIn's and things like that. Meet as many people as you can all the time. Spend time online, meeting people, offering to meet people for 15 or 20 minutes just to tell them what you're doing and what's going on. You never know who your next partner is or who you're standing next to.
So let's zoom in on this a little bit, Mike. I want to circle back to what you just said about meeting random people and just seeing where the conversation goes, because a lot of people don't believe in this, especially on LinkedIn, etc., which is interesting. But before I get there, I want to zoom back and I want to go maybe a bit deeper on this idea of Gary Gary Vaynerchuk, somebody who's in theory a well-known person. In theory, makes more than $500 an hour, I would assume. In theory, does
I think he
well.
makes tens of millions of dollars a year. That's my guess. I have no idea.
Exactly. Right. So the idea is if in your story, he's going and hustling on the weekend. In theory, that would be time you spend with your family or whatever. He's going, he's hustling, and he's only making $500 in this story
But
for the work of his
that's
weekend.
to show people what they can do. Like here, he just pulls up to a garage sale and he goes and makes $500. Like if you're at home complaining that this world sucks and that there's no opportunity, then you're just not thinking about it right.
So I wanna zoom in on this, or I wanna unpack this a bit, because sometimes I run into people who kind of think, and people don't really say this, but you realize this over time. They kind of think, hey, it's not worth my time. Going to the garage store, going to the garage sale will take an hour. I'll make $500. I normally make more than $500 an hour, so why am I going to get off my sofa? Or it's going to take 3 hours. I normally make more than that money, so why am I going to go out and do that? But the flip side is, perhaps from your perspective, that same garage trip could have resulted in 10K in profit. You don't know until you take your shot. So I really want to zoom in on this, Mike, but I want to zoom in on it from your experience to say, hey, what's one time where you saw somebody do something normal but make an obscene amount of money? Whether it was one trade, which they done tens of thousands of trades, or one networking lunch that
17.
led to,
I'm
uh-huh.
17. I'm living in North Jersey. I'm not at school yet. I go to work at Sam Goodies at the Garden State Plaza. I'm in the radio department. In the radio department, you make PMs, spiffs. If you sell like the dishwasher, the record cleaner for $15, you made like $1. I look at the audio salesmen there. They all have shirts and ties and suits, except for one guy named Mike. And every morning they look at the revolving door at 9:30 or 10 when it's about to open, and the people coming in, and they're looking for the guy who's going to buy that $4,000 or $5,000 stereo at 40% margin, and they're going to make 500 or $1,000, right? And they're eyeballing them. So as they come through the revolving door, they're quickly going up to them, going, "Hey, can I help you? Can I help you?" Right? So they're eyeballing the people they think have money. And a kid rides up on a 10 speed, and he blocks it to like the side thing. He looks like a kid, right? Like whatever. And Dwight, not running up to chase the best people, gets stuck with him. And this kid ends up pulling out 4 or 5 grand out of his pockets cash and buy this at no bargain, the highest margins in the world. And Dwight writes this up, and all the other people that they picked because they thought they were fat cats were all there pricing against Crazy Eddie at the time, who had these crazy prices, and they're pricing. So every one of them failed. So I learned very early on that you have no idea who you're standing next to, who these people are, what they could do for you. Treat people with respect, treat people properly, strike up random conversations, say hello, open the door, ask things. I do we do outreach on LinkedIn. You get if you have premium, you get 200 connections a week. I use about 150 for Gilder. The other 50 are for board stuff and people like that. Um, when people, when I do my board education, my CP stuff, and I connect to people, I use a 15-minute Calendly link. So I say, hey, love to spend 15 minutes talking about board work with you. Here's a link if you're so inclined. I'd love to chat with you. I get about 40 or 50% of people take it, like 15 minutes. And and in your heart of hearts, you know it's not going 15 minutes. It's always going more than 15, but they take it. And I get to speak to people on public boards and stuff, the place I'm trying to go to, tell them who I am, what's going on, talk about my background a little bit, send them to my michaeljeffreyfrank.com, my website, and tell them this is what I'm looking for. And then I ask them something specific. How can I help you? And they sometimes have an ask and sometimes they don't. And then I go and endorse them for a bunch of skills and like a bunch of their articles and write some comments on their articles on LinkedIn as a payback for a thank you. That is what people should be doing on a regular basis if you're looking to build businesses, build your network. If you don't tell people you're looking for board seats, they won't know. If you don't tell people what you're building or what you need help with, they won't know. Nobody cares about you. Nobody knows who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you had. Like, I guess people will come to you eventually, but for the general public, you have to make things happen for yourself. And how do you do that? It's Tech Week coming up June 1st through 7th in New York City. If all these people here are not signed up for 5 or 10 of these things, or trying to go at night if you're working in the daytime, or go for the breakfast before work, there's so much free stuff, so much networking, so much education. There's probably 1,000 events for Tech Week, literally, that you could go to. Free this, free that, all the networking you do. Get yourself a rudimentary business card with your telephone number on it. Tell people what you're looking to do. Go build something, do something, make some connections. You might even meet your spouse. Who the heck knows?
I love that, Mike. So let's talk about that, right? You said, hey, put yourself out there, do the work, show up. You mentioned LinkedIn. Do you do it manually? Do you have an automated process, if you don't mind me asking?
You're not allowed to use automated process on LinkedIn. And if I told you that I did that and someone reported me, I would be out. LinkedIn is very aggressive on that kind of stuff. There are companies that you can automate things, and they're not that expensive to do that. We
But
have,
proceed at your own risk. This is your
yeah,
asterisk, this is your
yeah.
disclaimer,
Um,
etc. Maybe build your
we
own
have like
list as
a
well.
standard operating procedure for everything. So when I message someone on LinkedIn and they message me back, glad to connect, I can bring up a spreadsheet here, not a spreadsheet, but like a Word doc of what I'm going to say next. If they say, "Oh, does this cost money?" We have an answer to everything, to what to say on the LinkedIn. For me personally, I am regularly just trying to get people on a call to say hello. I do probably 1 or 2 calls a day for 15 or 20 minutes that are just random people from all around the world that are high. Like, typically, I see them on LinkedIn. I see they're doing something super interesting. I'll reach out and say hello and connect. I'll tell them I'm looking for board work and we run this. Would you like to get on a call? I'll send them the link. If they book, I'm happy to do the calls. Many times they go nowhere. I had one guy recently said, "I'm really busy with stuff, but I'm going to make some intros to you." And he's made like 8 intros of like super interesting people. I talked to
Good for
Boardy.
you.
Do you know who Boardy is?
No,
Boardy, Boardy. Boardy is an AI that calls me every Saturday and says, "Good day, Mike. How's it going?" And then more recently said to me, "How was your daughter's wedding?" Because she got married 2 or 3 weeks ago. Boardy's making introductions to
congratulations.
people around the world for me, for family offices, for advisory work. Super interesting stuff. So my wife at one point said to me, "Who are you talking to every Saturday?" I'm getting nervous. And I put it on speaker and she's like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "That's an AI." She says, "No, it's not." So to me, you just want to keep like reaching out, telling your story, talking to people, getting on these podcasts, talk to people. You never know who sees this. Someone from the Middle East, they're trying to bring their business here. They go, "I like what this guy says. He's real. He's straightforward New Yorker. There's no bullshit around it." Like life is, life is tough, right? Like you have to fend for yourself. You have to be aware. You have to understand what's going on all the time. You just can't walk around oblivious to the world, right? You want to protect your family and be aware and things like that. So
I hear you, and I agree with everything you said because the idea is like by being authentically you, you create your tribe, you connect with people who have similar values, you're able to know, like, and trust one another, you're able to find value for one another, and ultimately you will create strong relationships that will drive strong revenue generation for everybody, value creation and revenue generation. The problem that I have, Mike, is how you've explained it. I feel like people need a very tangible example. They need a funnel of, hey, I met this random guy on LinkedIn. We had this random 15-minute call that, I didn't know would go anywhere, but I knew 200 of these random calls would lead me to this result. And here's what happened. Because I think people, in that cold email example, people will send 3 cold emails and then they'll say, oh, hey, I've done enough cold emails. I'm done with this. But they won't know that you need to send 1,000. And I feel like what you're talking about with LinkedIn, with the idea of being an open networker, with the idea of connecting with like-minded people, it's very valuable. But it's only valuable if you put in the work, and it's only valuable if you give it the time. And I think a lot of people miss these elements because we live in an era of immediate gratification, instant success, where everything is easy online. So I'd really appreciate it if you could zero in on one story of an amazing transaction or amazing person that you met on LinkedIn and how LinkedIn makes it so much easier than maybe it used to be when you were on the trading floor.
There's just so many of these. I'm not going to say anything is super amazing. Once you get used to network, you don't need to have a win right then and there. And that win may not come immediately. So when you're looking for, in my case, board seats, the fact that you are not asking for something and you're sort of just putting yourself out there and trying to help them and endorsing them and throwing some little things on their LinkedIn or whatever, likes, inviting on their comments, makes them happy and they will think about you. Your world of, like, if you show me someone who told me they have, especially a guy, I have 30 close friends, like, no chance. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, I have under half a dozen. Like, I know forever, from the Philly floor, from this floor, whatever. And a good friend, if you haven't spoken to them in 6 months or a year, and like you call them up, they're not going to say, "Hey, how come you don't talk to me?" They're just going to say, "Hey, how's it going?" kind of stuff.
Especially if it's a guy.
I guess, yeah. I was friends with a guy in the family, and our kids. We did Lamaze together. And over 30 years, I invested in this company. That was a disaster. That's 20 years ago. Like, the money's gone. I don't care. Like, I was a big boy. But over the last 5 years, we would talk once every month. And every time I got off the phone, I felt like shit. Like, he made me feel bad. And I just didn't like it. And eventually I decided that I'm done with this. I don't need this. And the next time we chatted, I said, I'm going to speak for about a minute. I said, I would hope that you don't interrupt me. And I said to him, every time we speak, I get off the phone, I don't feel good. You're not lifting me up. You're not helping me. You're making me feel inadequate. You're making me feel over the hill. You're making me feel like I'm almost half dead. I don't need that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to about to hang up the phone. And although we've been friends for 30 years, I will not be calling you and I don't expect you to call me. If you have an emergency and you need help, I'm there to help your family. Like, I'll be in a heartbeat. You need someone to come over. Like, your wife's having a heart attack and, like, I'm not that I'm close. I'm there. I said, but other than that, we're done. And I'm going to hang up the phone. And I wish you a good life and I'll see you on the other side. And that was the end of that 30 relationship. And that's the way I sort of look at life. If people around you are not helping you and not uplifting you and not giving you proper feedback and stuff, like, no one should be just blowing smoke up your backside. But like you want real friends. So if people tell me they have 30 or 40 real friends, if you're a female, maybe, like my daughters have, but the one just got married and they have like almost a dozen girls that they've known from elementary school that are all still friends. Like, yeah, but like, tell me, do you know anyone from your elementary school that you're still friends with? Like my answer would be, I don't even know anybody from high school. So a single kind of, I don't know if I could pick out anything that, like, right now on the spot that would be, a good story. I'm going to just say that if you do the right thing all the time and you're always networking and you're not looking for payback all the time and you're willing to do things and make intros to people and do stuff, it pays off. They will think of you, a la the person from Europe who's made 6 intros, but he's too busy to talk to me and the other people, and then just go from there. Like, doing the right thing. You can't have someone telling you it's the right thing all the time. You have to know that it's the right thing, and everyone knows what the sort of the right thing is for them and stuff like that. And it's not for everybody to be doing this anyway. Like some people are pretty happy to be doing whatever they're doing and don't need the world much bigger, you know. And to me, um, I, you know, don't care what the rest of the world is kind of doing. Like if someone said to me in feedback, a random person, something bad, like I'm not going to really listen to it because if my friends or people I know for 30 or 40 years or even 10 years are good friends tell me something, that's important, right? Like, because they know you, but like random people just calling you this or that or whatever, I don't care. Like, that's not worth my time.
Very valuable, Michael, especially the story about that 30-year-old person, because it tells you that relationships are fluid. You need to always show up for people and provide value. And if you're not providing value, at some point you will be redundant, whether that's in a friendship, in the workplace, in your business. If you're not consistently showing up, putting in the work, you mentioned the 80 hours, then at some point somebody else is going to replace you. And that's just an unfortunate reality of life. So, Mike, if somebody's been listening to this conversation, if they found immense value from you, which I wouldn't find that surprising at all, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Michael J. Frank. You can find me there. Go download some of our or go watch some of our free content. Gilder for Founders on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We had an AI panel recently. We had a guy who has 900,000 followers on YouTube talking about how he over 10 years built it. We've had exited founders. We do mini stuff on the Instagram and TikTok. There's a lot of education out there of what people are building and doing. And I'm just going to say, open up yourself to other ways of learning and listening, whatever that might be, because you never know who you're standing next to. I'll tell you another quick final story. We're in Haagen-Dazs in town, and I think is the most premium ice cream, no matter what happens. And we start talking to a guy and know they're his. I know the family because we kept a small boat down. My wife's family did, and the guy is, at the time, he's 75, heavy set, balding. And my daughters say, and I won't say his name, my daughters say, "Who's that fat guy?" So I'm like, first of all, like, be careful with that. I said, that guy's worth 5 billion. I said, he's an ex.
That fat is representative of status. It's like back in the day, the affluent would be, a little bit larger. It was a status symbol.
I said, he's, a shaker and a mover in the world of Wall Street and stuff. He's that guy. I'm like, yeah, like, I said, you don't know like who you're standing next to, and people have different skin colors, and people are guys and girls, and tall and skinny, and fat, and this and that. I said, and just treat people with respect, and you'll never know, and always make sure that you are doing the right thing. And if you make sure that you're doing the right thing, and everybody else does the right thing, hopefully we get along, we do the right thing, and things move forward.
I love it, Mike. This has been a great conversation about morals, values, value creation, and ultimately how this all reflects in individual growth and professional growth. For anyone listening, the lesson is simple. The things that create value often look boring until they become apparent. You have to build them before you need them. Mike mentioned the value of distribution. We alluded to the value of building that network. Mike alluded to a lot of different platforms that he's building on and a community that he's built to help founders scale. The message is very simple, and we'll include all of Mike's links in the show notes. There are so many ways to grow. And like mentioned, you have to be a bit flexible in terms of looking at different ways to grow, different ways to scale. And ultimately, that will help you bring the value that you're creating to the marketplace. And once you're able to do that, you will be able to figure out a way to monetize. And if along the way you need help, that's why Mike's built his community to really help you scale. So if this episode has helped you, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody you know that's building. Maybe they're in stealth and you're wondering why they're in stealth. Mike has eloquently stated why it makes sense to be in stealth. But fundamentally for you, it's about figuring out how you can add value for other people. And sometimes that's just by sharing what you're learning. So Mike, thanks for joining us in this conversation, and we'll speak more next time.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one. Bye.